If you have never heard of the SpaceX IPO, which was launched this morning, the largest in history, you must be living under a rock. Today, SpaceX launched its IPO, and right now it's in the secondary market. What I'm going to do in this discussion is that I'm going to give you some background and context. The first thing we need to talk about is how these startup companies go public. Think about SpaceX. It was a startup 20 something years ago. Now it's public. What's the path to get there? Well, startups, they raise capital, in most cases, from their families, friends, colleagues, and sometimes angel investors. And then they go to the series with venture capital, series A, B, C. I recently heard that there was series J or something. In most cases, before you go public, you may run series A, B, C, maybe D. And then once you fulfill the requirement, you go public, of course. You are a startup today. Going public should be one of your exit strategies. Some startups, they just want to sell it before they go public. For example, they sell it to a strategic buyer or a private equity firm. Some actually, they want to keep it private. Even if they are large enough to go public, they don't want to go. A good example is Strip. Strip is a financial institution, a multi-billion dollar financial institution, but it's privately kept. There are advantages and disadvantages in going public. And therefore, you choose which exit strategy is best for you. That said, the first thing I want to discuss today is going to be the different markets there are. In general, I can divide the market into two, primary market and secondary market. Before SpaceX IPO went live and available on the secondary market, it was in the primary market. In the primary market, the most active participants are institutional investors like mutual funds, hedge funds, and so on and so forth. Of course, there are some accredited individuals who may involve in getting the shares directly from the primary market. These individuals, they should have, for example, salary of the last 2 years, at least $200,000 if they are single, $300,000 if they are married. And of course, someone could have also $1 million net worth, excluding the private residence. These kind of individuals may involve in the primary market, but there are some risks and also capital requirement. If you want to participate in the primary market, you may need maybe $50,000 or more, depending on the broker who is helping you get the shares directly to you. And they may require you to invest at least $100,000 or more. That's for accredited individuals. The majority of us going to be in the secondary market. In my case, I'm a registered person. I cannot participate in the primary market in the IPO process, but I can participate like you in the secondary market. The secondary market is where, for example, for SpaceX right now, it's available in the secondary market. People can go and get these shares through third parties, those institutional investors which bought the share from the primary market. The secondary market is where anybody could be able to trade shares. And of course, there are different platforms. One of the platforms is NASDAQ. That's where the SpaceX IPO was launched. Let's talk about the players in the process of selling businesses, helping businesses raise capital through debt or selling shares or going public, because companies go public to raise capital. In the case of SpaceX, they're trying to raise up to $75 billion capital, which is the largest to make available in an IPO. Of course, SpaceX is now more than a trillion dollar valuation company. When you are a small company, the participants are business brokers, people like myself. You have a small company, you want to sell it, and this company could be available to individual buyers. And these individuals, they may go to biz, buy, sell, buy, biz, sell, buy. They go there on this platform, and then they could be able to buy businesses. And you just need a broker. You could be from couple of $100,000 revenue up to $5 million. But if you have a company, for example, which is evaluated from $5 million up to, let's say, $50 million, you need M&A. You need M&A. These are mergers and acquisition company firms. They're going to help you. In this case, the M&A companies and firms, they target private equity firms and also strategic buyers. And they don't make these businesses available on platforms. Biz, buy, sell, and buy and sell. They don't, I'm not sure whether I pronounced this. I think it's biz, buy, sell. That should be .com. That'll be the website, but check it out. M&As, they don't put on website. They are sold privately, and they target these institutional buyers, strategic buyers, and private equities. But once you are above $50 million and in billions, you're looking for investment bankers. In the case of SpaceX, the leading business bank, in this case, investment bank, is Goldman Sachs. But there are, I believe, over 20 syndicate business banks that are involved in this. If you are a small IPO, you just need one investment bank, maybe a couple of them. But in the case of SpaceX, they needed more than one investment bank. We're going to talk about how these business bankers, these investment banks work. But the key thing is, these investment banks, they help these large companies going public or create debts, stuff like that. Let's talk about the process before a company goes public. Because before they launch, they issue an IPO. Investment bankers, such as, for example, Goldman Sachs and others, what they do in the background, it may take them years, but at least months before they make the company ready to go public. In the case of SpaceX, for example, definitely the first responsibility of these investment bankers is to come up with a market valuation for SpaceX. This is a very tedious, detailed work. There could be some negotiation between SpaceX and investment bankers to decide the market valuation of SpaceX. It may involve making some analysis based on its cash flow, but beyond that, there are some tangible and intangible assets that SpaceX has. All of these going to be considered into the valuation, and finally they come up with some number. In this case, it's over $1 trillion valuation for SpaceX, and then the company decides how many shares they want to make available. Some of the shares that have been already taken by employees, leaders, and also some institutional and individual investors who had been investing. Remember the steps, Series A, B, C, they have shares. And therefore, finally, SpaceX decides these are the shares I want to have. And based on the valuation and the shares, you could be able to decide how many dollars a share is. In this case, in the case of SpaceX, it's $135 per share. Now, I have a disclaimer. The true performance of an IPO is not determined at the launch. You have to wait a couple of days to see how the market voted. The value, the share price may go up, may go down. We don't know. We're waiting. Nobody could be able to tell, oh, the share per price for SpaceX is going to be this much. We're not yet there. The market going to decide, the public going to decide, and we will know whether it goes down or up. Sometimes initially it may go down and go down, go up or down, or maybe it goes down and it may go up. We look forward to see that. The key thing I want to mention right here is the process beyond valuation. Just coming up with the valuation is one thing, and they go through a lot of process to come up with that. They're going to evaluate, for example, the team, the history of the company, who are the shareholders, and other information, if there are any legal issues, debt issues. All of these going to be taken into account before a company goes public. The most important deliverable these investment bankers should come up with before they issue IPO is prospectus. They have to submit that hundreds of pages into SEC, and SEC will receive that. It doesn't approve, receive that prospectus and go through the prospectus to see whether all the requirements are made. It may take them 20 days or more. Sometimes they may communicate with the the issuer back and forth if they need more information. During that time, during the cooling period, the investment bankers, they go out, roadshow, they go out to increase momentum, to increase anticipation for the IPO. They cannot sell, but at least they can gather requests, interests, and they will come based on the decision by SEC, which date and which price the issuer gonna issue the IPO. Of course, you cannot claim that you are approved by SEC. SEC doesn't approve, doesn't say this is good or bad. Just they let you go public based on meeting certain requirements, and people buy the shares based on their own decision. There is always risk in any investment. In any case, the key thing you need to know is there are a lot of things that are going on behind the scene before a company goes public. In conclusion, if you are a startup, you need to know the process it takes you to go public, like SpaceX. You're a startup, you need some capital from angel investors, friends, colleagues, and then from venture capitalists, you go from Series A, B, C, and then you go public. When you decide, for example, to sell your company, if it is small, you use business brokers. Business brokers sell these to individual buyers. They put it on a B's buy, sell, and they help you sell. But if you are like larger, let's say beyond $5 million up to $50 million, you just need M&A firms. These firms, they don't sell it publicly. In most cases, they target private equities and also strategic buyers. The goal is to find you the right buyer for your company. If you are above $50 million, if you are multi-billion dollars, especially if you want to go public, you need investment bankers. And these investment bankers, they go through a lot of process for months, if not years, before the IPO goes public. Now, if you want to have conversation based on my presentation today, or in general in financial issues, you can reach out to me. But my encouragement today is going to be, if you want to decide to buy, for example, the IPO of SpaceX, is up to you. I'm not endorsing, I'm not selling anything here. This is an educational video just to let you know what had been happening before the IPO. That said, if you have an investment advisor, you need to consult your investment advisor before you buy SpaceX share. For any question or any conversation with me, reach out, and I would love to have conversation with you. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to see you with another video.